Welcome, Earth scientists. It's time to get outside and have a look at our Earth systems. Hope you're enjoying the material in week one. I'm going to ask you to go out and check out the Earth systems in your neighborhood. So let's get out your door and have a look. I live out here in Twisk, Washington, and we're going to go ahead and take a little closer look at the geosphere here. And to do that, we've got to get below the biosphere, below this grass growing here, and have a look at what's below. So obviously there's some soil growing beneath these plants, but also beneath the soil and helping to form the soil are some rocks of the geosphere. This is part of the Earth's crust. This happens to be some shale in my neighborhood. And the geosphere, as you've been learning, includes the crust and the lithosphere, the plates that make up the lithosphere, which are slowly moving on a ductile layer called the asthenosphere. And the lithosphere and the asthenosphere and part of the lower Earth include what is known as the mantle, and below that the outer and inner core. So hopefully you've been learning the details about those. So that's our first Earth system, is the geosphere. And next, of course, is the biosphere, which includes you and me. These grasses growing here on the soil, on the geosphere. And I'm hearing a bird calling in the background. Of course, that's part of the biosphere as well. And within the soils that sustain these plants, there's numerous living organisms, and you and I are full of bacteria as well. And here comes my cat, part of the biosphere as well. My cat is named Feldspar. Anyway, the biosphere and the geosphere. And after that, of course, we've got the atmosphere, that thin envelope that protects us from solar radiation. The stratosphere includes the troposphere that creates much of our weather. And then interacting with all these spheres, of course, is the hydrosphere. And if you were to be able to see those mountains in the distance, you would see some snow on there. So there's evaporation taking place, and that's condensing into clouds. Often the time we have a unusual clear day here today, and then we've got precipitation falling as snow or rain and coming down as runoff, and eventually much of it entering the groundwater system or entering a river down there. Around here it's called the Twisk River, and that eventually makes its way to the ocean. So when you go to explore your Earth systems around your house, I'm going to ask you to discuss some ways that the Earth systems are interacting with each other. These are not discrete systems, they are fully interacting. So we'll head back to our lower sphere, the lowest Earth system, the geosphere, and how is that interacting with the biosphere? Well, of course, that rock is breaking down, it's being weathered, sometimes transported and eroded. It's interacting with the atmosphere, and it's interacting with wind. It's interacting with rain from the hydrosphere. Chemically and physically, that rock is beginning to break down. Freeze-thaw takes place with the changes in the temperature over the seasons and starts to break this rock apart physically. And there are numerous organisms in the uppermost layer helping to break things apart as well. Even roots growing in these things from the trees and that kind of thing, breaking down the rock and eventually forming into soil. And the biosphere is, of course, interacting with the geosphere, adding its organic matter to the soil system. And the atmosphere is helping to create some of that weathering, providing oxygen to the biosphere, interacting with the hydrosphere, of course, because all that water vapor enters up into the atmosphere and comes down, creates some erosion on the geosphere. Also provides water for the plants and trees, which in turn eventually die and start to create more matter to add to the geosphere. And some of those layers within the atmosphere also affect life. There's radiation coming down from the sun that is somewhat protected, or there's a little barrier in there protecting us from ultraviolet radiation, fortunately. so we don't all get skin cancer, and that's up in the ozone layer, which protects us up in the stratosphere. So anyway, that's a short visit to my neck of the woods and a little bit about how Earth systems are interacting. And this week I want you to take a look at the Earth systems in your area and think about some of these connections. How is the geosphere and the biosphere and the atmosphere and the hydrosphere, how are they all interacting? You can even think of some more global processes such as volcanoes out there in the Cascade chain that add ash to the system. Many of the soils around this area include volcanic ash, which provide nutrients to the soils and provide some nutrients for farming and for forest growth and that type of thing. And there are infinite ways which these Earth systems are interacting that you may be able to come up with. So enjoy the process, enjoy learning about your local Earth systems in your area. All right, I'll see you out there in week 1 and week 2. Hope you're enjoying the course so far.